everybody. So it's 1:25 p.m. on the afternoon of March 4th, 2026, and I'm out here outside St. Paul University at this intersection. It's called Main and Clegg. And the reason I'm here is because the racist Department of Social Innovation has a workshop space that they call the Atelier over here in the basement. Those windows, if you can see, it's behind this gray thing. And so then in there today they're having an event, two events. One is a talk by Andre Ruggieri on worker recovered companies and resistance to neoliberalism. It's in Spanish, and they're translating it into French. And then at 2, which is in half an hour, it's called Study Day Book Colloquium on Fascisme Tranquille. Affronter la nouvelle vague autoritaire. So that's by Professor Jonathan Durand Falco, with critical comments by Julie Paquette, Philippe Neme-Nombre, and Simon Tremblay-Pepin, and Dali Giroux. So I know all of those people except Dali Giroux. What else can I say? You know, if you're on my YouTube, then you can go to my playlists, and that's where you'll see, there's only one, and that's where you'll see like a playlist that has all of the evidence that I've been documenting since this time last year. When they sabotaged my research, Amanda Wilson erased the core of my research, and then she rewrote it for me. Amanda Wilson is a non-Indigenous female identifying person who is a self-admitted abolitionist, more specifically prison abolitionist. Okay, so I have everybody's favorite sign today. Show you all my signs. So because we have Simon Tremblay-Pepin, I've got Simon's sign that I made last year. So I think I have all the signs that I really need, you know, now, which is good, because it takes, I'm not lying, like it takes a while to make these signs, you know, like, I mean, I try to make them decent and pretty and like legible, you know, so that it's like more presentable, you know, and stuff like that, instead of just scribble all over the place. So Simon Tremblay-Pepin fabricates fake evidence. So that's what he did. He accused me of academic fraud, and the evidence that he used for that, he made up himself. Just like he copied and pasted pieces of like journal issues, numbers, titles, and he just stringed them all together and made them up and said, this is what I was plagiarizing, and they don't even exist. They're totally fabricated. So the sources in my PhD research proposal are authentic. And many of them I actually got off the syllabi from professors, and in my playlist you'll see that I documented my use of those sources all the way back to the first fall term of the first class that I had with Amanda Wilson, who I took, you know, like Amanda Wilson and the one other person in my class cohort heard me talk about the core of my research, which is that, you know, philosophy is being devalued in academic institutions, and it's deliberate. You know, that's a major point in the core of my research. Of, you know, the essence of my research is Anishinaabe ontologies of reality and reality construction. And if you want, you can go to my ResearchGate. That's a website, and you can find on there all, you know, my master's research is on there, and also my PhD research proposal, and you can see for yourself what I'm talking about and the work I did over the 2 years that they erased and sabotaged. Yeah. Okay, so then on the back, On the back it says Julie Paquette, like director of racism and whatever else I put on there. That's what that's my funny take on. So like Simon Tremblay-Pepin was the director of the social innovation program when they put all this racism and genocide onto me. So he administered a bunch of that, and then he continued to grade my work even though he was in a clear conflict of interest, and a whole bunch of other unethical stuff. And so then they're playing musical chairs with these administrative positions, and that's been going on way back since my I noticed that in my master's. So that's been going on for I don't know how long, at least 10 years, maybe more. So the deans, the directors, all that, it's musical chairs. They're switching them around all the time. Who knows why? Like, I mean, they've got to give everybody a turn to administer this kind of violence, you know? And so then that's why that says that. So then in the spring term of last year, even though I paid tuition, there was no communication whatsoever from anybody in the department about what's expected for me during that term. And so then that's the reason why I refer to Julie Paquette as Director of Racism and Exclusion, is because that's what her real job is, and what she pretends to do is a fake job. So yeah, everybody's favorite sign: diversity, equity, inclusion is a scam. And on the back, St. Paul teaches racism and genocide. So that's my signage for today. So I'll just quickly read my press release. I'll skip the part about the events because I already said that. So, Anishinaabe survivor of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, an advocate for erased First Nation survivors, will hold a peaceful protest tomorrow, March 4th, outside the Merrill Belanger Social Innovation Workshop at 95 Clegg Street. That's where I'm at. During 2 events hosted by the School of Social Innovation. So I explained briefly what those events are. So the advocate argues that these events perfectly illustrate St. Paul's University's ongoing hypocrisy. Platforms that claim to explore resistance, fascism, and social innovation, while the same department continues to erase First Nations voices, fabricate evidence, and weaponize internal processes against First Nation students who speak out. Specific signage will name and shame Simon Tremblay-Pepin and Julie Paquette for their direct roles in the advocate's erasure. Point 1. Simon Tremblay-Pepin, former director of the Social Innovation Program and one of today's commentators, misused his authority to advance a false and improper complaint by Heather Eaton on behalf of others, and to advance his own complaint of academic fraud after the advocate raised concerns about racism. He graded her work despite a clear conflict of interest, refused to address her informal complaints of racism and grade disputes, and fabricated evidence that was later used against her. The university committee, led by Michael Seguin, ignored the advocate's proof that her sources were legitimate and had been used throughout 2 years of coursework, issuing false findings that contributed to her retaliatory expulsion. Julie Paquette, current director and one of today's commentators, replaced Tremblay-Pepin and completely ignored the advocate's urgent email of July 7th, 2025, demanding an in-person meeting to address the ongoing exclusion and racism in the spring 2025 term. Despite paying $2,650 in tuition, which is cheap, I know, but this is a Mickey Mouse University, you know what I'm saying? The advocate received no communication or support for the entire term. Paquette's silence allowed the retaliatory process to continue, culminating in the advocate's expulsion in July 2025 after a fake investigation conducted by unethical lawyer Stephen Gone of ADR Ottawa that produced no evidence of wrongdoing and no proof that an investigation had even occurred. Steven. Such a shame it is. These actions are part of the same pattern the advocate had protested since 2025, including at CRITS events, Research Day, and at the Graduate Student Symposium recently. In 2025, the advocate has documented and protested multiple instances of discrimination at St. Paul, including arbitrary devaluation of First Nation research and use of EDI frameworks, equity, diversity, and inclusion, fake frameworks, as a pretext for bias. Retaliatory administrative investigations and expulsions without due process involving fabricated complaints from individuals such as Heather Eaton, Amanda Wilson, Chris Mackey, and Simon Tremblay-Pepin as a fake investigation and a fake investigation by unethical lawyer Stephen Gone of ADR Ottawa. Weaponization of academic discourse in events like the Crit Cycle, which frames right-leaning perspectives as fascist while ignoring First Nations ontologies and lived experiences of genocide survivors. That's not real. As a matter of fact, that's backwards. Leadership failures, including Archbishop Marcel Damphouse's inaction on appeals, perpetuating the erasure of MMIWG survivors. Extraction of nearly $15,000 of intuition while sabotaging the advocates' work on commitments to decolonization, work on Anishinaabe philosophies. Actions that directly contradict the department's stated commitments to decolonization, anti-racism, and transformative justice. As an Anishinaabe MMIWG survivor, repeatedly erased by St. Paul's racist and genocidal practices, I'll be out here today with signage naming Simon Tremblay-Pepin and Julie Paquette for their personal roles in fabricating evidence, ignoring my self-advocacy, and silencing a First Nations voice. Said me, Dana Hickey. They lecture on quiet fascism and resistance while practicing exactly that inside their own institution. Pathetic. Attendees deserve to know the truth. This is not social innovation. It is a dangerous cult that recruits, exploits, and erases. Too often, First Nations do not survive the racism, exploitation, and erasure, and it's genocide. The protest calls on St. Paul University to engage in meaningful reconciliation, including an independent review of its policies on racism, bias, and discrimination complaints, full disclosure of internal processes, and restitution for affected students. Supporters are encouraged to join a peaceful demonstration or share their stories of institutional harm using hashtag SPU accountability. So, you guys are also welcome to come by today. I'll be here until 5 p.m. If you honk, I'll wave. That's pretty much it. It's a gorgeous day out here. You know, hippity hoppity, Easter's on its way. So, it's gotta be, you know, maybe 6-7 degrees. Really nice out here. Gorgeous day in Old Ottawa East. Thanks for watching, chums. Bye.